Good morning. Apologies if you got excited a couple of seconds ago and then I disappeared. I'd managed to switch auto rotate off on my phone, which meant we were the wrong way round. But that's okay. We're now the right way round. Welcome in. My name is Helen Jennings. I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator based here in the UK. And Love-a-Duckie is the name that you'll find me by on social media all over the place and my website. So if you do want to go and check anything else out, check out my blog, sign up for newsletters, all of those sorts of things. You'll be able to do all of that on my website, which is www.loveaduckie.co.uk. And for the next couple of days, my host code is there. It will be up on my website as well if you are shopping with me. So let's move that out of the way. Let's say good morning to Jackie and good morning to Beryl. Lovely to see you both here with me to do some crafting this morning. Now before I start, I was just going to show you a little card that I made yesterday. I have a lovely little team of, they are all ladies. They don't need to be all ladies, but currently they are all ladies. And we had our team craft and chat last night, and it was really lovely. One of my lovely team members, Carol, showed us 3 lovely projects that she'd made with the Sand and Sea Suite, and the lovely Vonnie led us in a little card making session. So here's my card that I made last night. So it's really fun. They're a great little bunch and they're really supportive of each other, and it is just such a joy to be part of this team and to get to spend evenings together crafting and sharing everybody else's creativity as well. So if you are local and fancy joining that team, we're always open to new members, and everybody is very welcoming of new members. But to today, what are we going to create? Now, I've grabbed a couple of things. Hi, Megan, off of my shelf. One is it is cute, isn't it, Lucy? One is the Treasures of Life stamp set, which for fairly obvious reasons, really. This one is in the mini catalogue, and the minute that I saw it, sort of, my heart went out to it. Having a 4-month-old grandson, I have 2 of the grandchildren as well, but Edison is only 4 months old. So these little images of snuggly babies and things just was like, oh yes, need to have that. And the other stamp set, see, I'm saying that that's in the mini catalogue, or is it in the annual? It's been a long week. And the other stamp set that I've grabbed out there is the Swirly Frames stamp set. Yes, it is in the mini. And I've had this on my shelf for a little while and I've barely used it. So I thought to myself, well, today's a good day to get it out. Let's see if we can combine the Treasures of Life with some swirly frames, and let's see how we get on. So yes, here we are. In the catalogue is this gorgeous stamp set. Isn't it beautiful? And just perfect for anybody that is has become a new grandparent. Obviously you can change the images up and they can be for parents as well. It doesn't have to just be for grandparents, but it just is such a joy. Great for scrapbook pages and all those sorts of things as well. So let's have a bit of fun with these 2 cards, these 2 stamp sets, and we'll make 2 cards with them. So as you can see, look, I've not even got stickers on some of these. I've played with some, but not with many. The first one we're going to play with is actually one of the ones that I have played with before. And I think we're going to have the congratulations on your newest little treasure stamp. So let's pop our back on that one. So I'll just peel the backing off to reveal the sticky, and peel the backing off of the stamp. Make sure that I've got it the right way round. Line that up, peel it off, and then I've got a sticky stamp. Okay, that's good to start. So for this one, I'm going to take some basic white cardstock. It's looking a little dog-eared on that side. I'm going to cut that down to 10 centimetres for now, and then I shall probably trim it up. Morning, Lee, how lovely to see you. Right, so I've got the swirly frames, and I'm going to take this big rectangular one here. Let's peel that off. And I think out of all of these stamps, I think I've only used one, so it's about time. Oh no, perhaps two. It's about time they got some love, because it's a really useful little stamp set for creating frames and things. So I'm going to lie that down, and though it's quite a sort of scribbly stamp set, so it doesn't matter if it's slightly off, it would be nice to get it fairly straight. So I've laid that down on my grid on here, and this could be grid paper, doesn't have to be glass block. And then I'm going to pick that up, so hopefully that is now quite straight on there. Just digging about. Oh no, stitch stars, that's not what I wanted. Wanted stitch rectangles. Stitch stars definitely are not going to line up with that stamp, are they? I'm wondering if any of the stitched rectangles, yeah, that one would. We might use that one in a minute. Let's pop that to one side. So I'm going to start off with this, and I'm going to take I'm thinking with this one, I'm going to go sort of, oh, I would if I could see my So Saffron. Where's that gone? Oh, it's one of the ones in there. I'm going grey, smoky slate and So Saffron as my sort of main colours for this card. So quite nice babyish sort of neutrally colours. Sort of lemon and grey. So let's start with our frame, and let's do that in smoky slate. I'm going to ink that up, and I'm going to grab my Pierce mat. Now, these Pierce mats are still available. They did disappear from the annual catalogue, and there was such an uproar that they brought them back almost instantly. So if you are looking for one of these mats and you can't see one in the catalogue and you'd like the order number for it, do give me a message and we will sort that out for you. So there's that frame. Isn't that lovely? Sort of very almost Art Deco-ish, isn't it? But sort of, yeah, quite scribbly. I think that stitched rectangle will cut that out beautifully. So let's do that. Just going to run it through on my machine. Got my big Stampin' Cut and Emboss out for this job. I probably could. The die will probably go through the mini, but I'd have to start chopping the card down to get that to work. Just trying to line it up so I've got an even border. That's not bad. If I'd got all the time in the world, I'd have probably sat and fiddled with that a little bit more to get it slightly more even. But let's just pop that out. And with all the stitch dies, they do like to hang on to the card. So there we've got a stitched outline with that scribbly frame in the middle. Now I'm going to swap over to my stamps. So I've got the one here with the lady snuggling this baby. I'm going to stamp this in Memento because I'm going to use my stamping blends on this one. So I'm going to stamp her to one side just here. Just look at the detail in that stamp. Isn't it just gorgeous? Look at that baby's little snuggly face. And I'm going to take the greeting that says, "Congratulations on your newest little treasure." So again, that could be for both parents and grandparents. And I'm going to stamp that. Let's take it off the pierce mat because we don't need a pierce mat for this one. I'm going to stamp that in grey. Okay. So I've got smoky slate pens here. I've got So Saffron pens. I've got some Petal Pink for skin tones. So I think we're going to give the lady a So Saffron sort of jumper, cardigan, whatever it is that she's wearing. Now, as always with, so that's baby's leg just there, as always with these things, the artist has put in the sort of shading areas for you, so that's always a helpful hint. So I've just gone in with the dark. There is shading and things. I might come in with my other end because there's quite a big area there to put down some ink, so I'm going to lay down some ink with my brush end. I'm going to swap back to my nib just to blend that together. And of course, because you're laying down the ink, it then sort of starts to really blend together because you've got a nice layer of the solvent down on your base as well as your colour. So I'm going to take some light smoky slate. That's that one. And I'm going to go in and put some light smoky slate on her hair. She's going to be a grey-haired granny. And I'm going to come in with some light grey granite. Because grey granite's got sort of those slight brown tones in there. And let's just add in some sort of grey granite highlights. come in with some crumb cake, sort of put in some slightly browny highlights in there too. We've just sort of built up a multi-tonal. It is beautiful, isn't it? Yes, that's it. So for me it was an instant buy, div, because obviously tiny grandchildren were very much on my mind. I'm just going to put down a little bit of dark petal pink. Yeah, going to come in. Oh, that's perhaps a bit too pink. Oh no, that's not what I want. That's what I want. We've got an ivory one here. I'm going to come in with the colour lifter and just a little bit of that colour around. I've got the ivory one here that I'm going to use for her hand. That looks quite brown to start with, but it will fade off a little bit. And then we want we've got baby's little baby grow down here. So let's come in with light so saffron there. Just a little bit of a cardigan. And then the ivory again. There's just a bit of neck showing just there. Okay. Okay, see you soon, Megan. So there we have this lady snuggling up with this baby. Some of the pastel paper here. Let's just measure our little bit just there. So it's about 11 and 11-ish by a little over 7.5. So I'm going to take a bit of smoky slate and cut it at 11.5 by just a smidge over 8, and that will give us a sort of smoky slate border there. And I'm going to take a piece of this DSP. I'm going to cut that at 13.9 by 9.5. A bit more smoky slate. I'm going to cut a piece that is 14.4 by 10. And then I think we'll have a basic white card base. So standard size. Obviously, if you're elsewhere in the world, you can sort of swap the measurements of these pieces to match your standard card bases. Your stitched frame and your stamp and things will be a similar size. Then just thinking, do we want any let's have a layer of spotty tulle ribbon. Let's just chop that off. Let's find our glue. So we'll put our frame on there. And we'll put our paper on there. So this is the current in colour paper pack. Obviously, if you join the team before Sunday, you'll be able to get the upcoming colour pack from the annual catalogue that's going to launch at the beginning of May. You get all of those papers, apart from the what will then be in colours for the current year, and because we don't yet know what they are, you'll get this year's in colours but not next year's. That still remains a secret. I'm wondering if there'll be a grey in there though, because that is this year's Panettone colours are grey. Let's stick that down here. In fact, I think grey and yellow is fairly on trend. Check me out being trendy. I'm going to pop that on a bit of a wonk just because I always like to put things on a bit of a wonk. I know for some people that sort of sends them into a bit of a twitch, but so you don't have to put any on a wonk if you don't want to. Let's put some dimensionals on that and raise this bit up. Now, I think I'm going to take some of these hearts and let's take the dark So Saffron and let's got a gold gem stuck on my finger. So saffron obviously is a very pale colour. But we'll just add some yellow to these resin hearts. the first layer is dried, go in and put a bit more yellow on the top. There we go. There's some pale soft yellow hearts. I think my pick it up tool must be over the other side of the room. Oh. And we'll have that one in there. So there we go. And the sort of cards you can create then, if you don't know whether the baby's going, what flavour the baby's going to be, you can have created that in advance, because sort of lemon and grey covers all eventualities. So there's one little card using that combo of swirly frames and Treasures of Life. Even the name of it is lovely, isn't it? Treasures of Life, they certainly are. And a little indulgent, because I am very much missing my little Treasures of Life at the moment. Right, let's come to swirly frames again, and I think we're going to want the circle frame this time, and this long spotty dotty. I'm going to move that one to one side, move these to one side. Now I'm going to go baby blue for this one, but you could equally go pink, yellow, apricot, rainbow, whatever suits you. I'm sure I've read somewhere that historically that it was the boys that were dressed in pink rather than the girls. So I'm taking a couple more stamps out of here, both ones I haven't used before. One says, "And the love only grows." Take the backing off of that. Again, make sure we've got it the right way up, because once this is touched there, it's really sticky on the back. So we've got "And the love only grows," and then we're going to use this beautiful image of a big hands and baby hands, and "I love you." To get my big hands and my little hands the right way round. Must make a point of putting the rest of those stickers on. Right, so there's our two stamps there on blocks. We'll come back to those in a minute. What I've got here is I've got a little square of shimmery white cardstock. So that is 9 centimetres square. That little piece of cardstock. And I'm going to come in with stays on this time. And I'm going to stamp my hands in the middle of there. So let's ink those up with my stays on. Shouldn't really dither around when you've got stays on. Stays on dries off really quickly on your stamps because it is solvent based. So the solvent just evaporates, which is why you always make sure you put your lids back on your stays on straight away, because otherwise that will all evaporate as well. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Right, before I add anything to that one, I'm going to bring in a blender brush and the balmy blue. Let's move those onto there. I'm going to open up my balmy blue ink and just tap my blender brush into there, dab it off into the lid, and I'm going to come in from the side, swirling both ways, and I'm going to come sort of up to but not over my hands. And you always want to make sure you tap off your brush before going in onto your cardstock, otherwise you'll get sort of dark blobs. And I'm doing it into the lid of my ink pad so that the ink is still there for me to come back in and pick up. Now you always want to make sure you've got something underneath, because there's going to be ink picking up on the side. The one benefit of having a glass mat, and unfortunately we don't stock glass mats, but one of the benefits of having a glass mat is that as you're sort of rubbing over the edge, you're re-picking up the ink that's round and about. There was great excitement in the Stampin' Up camp the other day. Somebody had spotted a glass mat on a picture that's one of the concept artists had put up, but unfortunately it was one from a great many years ago when Stampin' Up used to stock circle cutting bits of tools, and there was a glass mat that went with it. So you never know, they might surprise us with one in the new catalogue, but I think that might have been a false alarm. So I'm just working round this, so coming up to the hands but not going over them. And you can work both ways, and as you've got ink, sort of a layer of ink down on your card, you will find that it will start to move around and blend even more. So it's a job to see what I've done there. Let me bring in, so this is a piece of shimmery white as it started, so hopefully there you can see the difference in the two, that just sort of soft edge. And the other colour I'm going to be using is Misty Moonlight, so I'm just wondering whether just to literally touch the edge with a bit of Misty Moonlight. Hi Angie. And that will just give that slightly darker edge. Just going to go in sort of round the edge, not going in very far with the Misty Moonlight, but just to give it a bit more of a shadow effect around that edge. Let's pick that ink up there. And that might even give us enough to finish the job. Yep. So that's just made it a little bit darker, a bit more of a shadow effect around the outside. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my swirly stamp and I'm going to stamp that on. Now the reason that I am doing it after I have blended and not before I blended, if I'd have stamped this first, because I'm going to stamp it in Misty Moonlight, and then I'd blended over the top of it, it would have just blended in and I'd have got a smushy mess. So stays on, you can go over the top of, no problem. But if you want to use a colour ink and then you're going to blend over the top of it, you're really going to want to heat emboss it. So perhaps sprinkle some clear embossing powder on it and heat emboss it. So let's come round with our circle swirly frame. And the other thing I'm going to do is let's line up this on my grid and pick that up. And then we'll come round top and bottom. Don't think I'll do sides. No, I think I'm going to leave it just the top and the bottom. Let's bring that back round so that we've got the I love you. Now this is on shimmery white card. I'm going to bring in my watercolour pencils for this one. So let's come in with some Calypso coral on these hands. I'm just sort of laying some down on the edge. And where all the shading is where I'm putting my colour. Do the same with this hand. So that's that pair of hands. Let's bring in a blend brush. I'm just going to make sure, scribble off just to make sure there's no colour on it. And I'm going to sort of come in and blend out that colour. Blend that round. Use these fingers in here. So it's still going to remain darker where we've put the colour down and lighter elsewhere. Just going to put the tiniest bit of melon number on these nails. Could of course have bright red nail varnish if you want to. And then we want to do the baby's hands, and have a flirty flamingo pencil here. Just going to really lightly put down some flirty flamingo. You can always go back in and add in more colour if you feel you need to. A lot more difficult to take it out. Then we've got our little I love you heart in the middle. Just going to go over that with the blender pen just to give it a soft blended finished. And I'm going to come back in on this edge and add in a bit more shading. Just going to not put any more ink on here. Softly just tickle over that edge. Add in a bit more colour. So I've got a bit of misty moonlight just there. So this was 9 centimetres square. I'm going to cut this at 9.5. So that will just give that a little bit of a matte. I'm going to cut a bit of balmy blue cardstock that is actually 9.9. And as I've said lots of times, the reason we do it at 9.9 is we can get 3 of these card sizes out of a piece of A4 card if you do it at 9.9. So we need to cut it this way at 19.8 and score at 9.9 to get a nice little square card that is just a little under 4 inches square. That will just sit on there. I've got this little bit of this greeting here. I'm going to find myself a little smidge of shimmery white cardstock. Ooh, look at that. Perfect. And it's stamp. Just trim this down. the other way. Stick that onto a little bit of misty moonlight. We'll pop that up onto some dimensionals. Stick these together. I've got some nice misty moonlight enamel dots here that we can pop on there. So that's just a cute little dinky card. So they're just beautiful. Stunning little stamp set. Fabulous detail in those drawings. So a couple of cute little cards combining the swirly frames with the treasures of life. So I hope you've enjoyed those, and we will be back again on Monday. But don't forget, if there is anything that you've got your heart set on from the celebration catalogue, you need to get in there before Sunday. Sunday is the closing date for this celebration. We've got another one coming up later in the year, but for this celebration it will all finish on Sunday. So get all your shopping and your hosting and your joining up done in the next couple of days, and do get in touch if you need any information about any of that. So thank you for joining me, and I'll be back on Monday.